Do 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 do. That's it.
Woo. Hello and welcome back to Remake Hot Take podcast, where we pitch remake ideas of our favorite and new media. I'm Marriya Schwarz.
And I'm Brooke Rees. And today we are doing the beloved DCOM Disney Channel original movie, Halloweentown, focusing on the first one, but touching on the other three as well. Marriya, how come we're doing Halloweentown today?
So currently it's October, which is the month that contains Halloween.
Yeah. Straight to the point there.
Just a very factual time frame.
We are trying to be on theme. But we have been trying to do spooky movies for the whole month of October, and I think a little bit into November as well, based on our filming schedule. And Halloweentown was on our list of I really wanted to do it because it's one of my favorite movies, and it's like if I do not see Halloweentown like a minimum of one time from like September 1st to October 31st, something's wrong. Like I'm not in my own body. Come kidnap me, because I am not mentally well if I have not seen this movie at least once during Halloween season. So yeah, that's where I'm coming at it. How about you, Marriya? What's your history with Halloweentown? Love or hate?
Love. Halloweentown was like a big Halloween awakening for me, I would say. Sexually. I don't know. I was obsessed with the movies. I think for me, I would say Halloweentown, the original, and Halloweentown High are my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth movie does not exist. Because justice for Kimberly J. Brown. I was obsessed with Sophie specifically. Because I think I also have like a kinship to all of the youngest siblings, and so I wanted to be like Sophie for every like Halloween not Halloweentown. For every Halloween I wanted to go as Sophie, and my parents were like, no one will know who that is. And then like at recess we would play Halloweentown, and I would be Sophie in the group. So always obsessed. But I think it was like a big part. I don't know if you followed like the Disney Channel Monstober every year.
Yeah.
I think that was like the biggest. I don't know. That's where I was like, I'm alive,
Yes.
Like I'm alive. Like I wrote down all the ones that I really liked. Like Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. That was like a very key one. Twitches and Twitches 2. Tower of Terror. I have not seen this movie since it showed. Like, I don't think it exists anymore. Like, I think it was like lost to the times.
I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's like based on, because I know obviously Tower of Terror in Disney World, Disneyland. I don't even know if it's still Tower of Terror, if all of them are Guardians of the Galaxy now. Speaking of Disney World, Disney World, by the way, Brendan Fraser is going to be in like December 12th to 14th, appearing at Disney World for like their Christmas event. But anyway, so Tower of Terror, it was like the movie that featured basically just the elevator from Tower of Terror, which is already based on like the Twilight Zone, but they had a whole like movie spin-off, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, but obviously not as successful because no one knows where it is now. They also used to show Casper Meets Wendy. I don't know if that was a Disney movie or if they just featured it because it was Hilary Duff. So key movie. And then Hocus Pocus, The Haunted Mansion, which I haven't seen the remake of. Have you?
No.
Okay, cool. And then which I included because I do watch this every single Halloween, and it's such a niche thing, but the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody episode, The Ghost of Sweet 613.
Yes.
the best episode, in my opinion. I watch that every year.
Is it
Love
on
it.
Disney Plus?
It is.
Oh my gosh, I need to like
And I
write
only
that
watched that
down.
one episode. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Um,
I loved like the Disney Channel because I think they did that for multiple shows, right? There would always be like a Halloween episode and then a Christmas episode. And those were
yeah.
always, they just like put all their writing efforts into 2 episodes a year. And it was for like any sort of sitcom, like would always have like, it was like a Halloween or Thanksgiving episode and then a Christmas episode. And they were always so good. But yeah, I have not rewatched the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody episode since I've been like an adult. But I remember like, doesn't Esteban do like, I don't know, some sort of like Ouija board
Yeah,
summoning
he's like a
circle? Yeah.
seance guy. And I think the part, and if you haven't seen it, I'm so sorry, but basically the whole thing is like Sweet 613 or whatever is like rumored to be haunted, and they're like, that's not true. And then at the very end, the ghost comes out and she's like actually super nice, and she gives Cody back her blanket, and it was just like, I was gagged. I was like, oh my God, the rumors were true. But what about you? What's your history with Halloweentown? What's your favorite Halloweentown movie?
Yeah. I mean, similar to you, like it was always the like Disney Channel Monstober, and then also like ABC Family when it was called ABC Family would have like 30 days of Halloween and then like the 25 days of Christmas. And so I feel like I just love themed movies because I'm someone that has like a lot of like decision fatigue, and it's so hard for me to make decisions about like what I'm gonna watch. So I feel like come the holiday season, like starting September 1st with like Halloween movies and then going into like Thanksgiving and then Christmas, especially Christmas has like
No one talked to you in December or
no one
in
talk.
November. In November,
Yeah,
that's when
I'm
you have to
booked
make
and
some tough
busy.
decisions.
No, but I feel like at least it like narrows down my decision pool between like all movies that have any kind of genre and any kind of like plot line ever to exist to like 150 movies that are all about Halloween or Christmas. So it actually helps my decision fatigue a little bit. And I'm like, okay, we're in like a narrowed down pool of choices here. But yeah, I would look forward to it like so much. It was like the golden age of Disney Channel in my mind. And I'm sure that it's just as good now. You know, we've grown out of it, we're adults, but it was just like peak childhood in my mind. And then I was a witch for Halloween every single year growing up, like every single year, which seems like out of character for me because I feel like I really like to do like dress up, and I love like dressing up as different characters. But for some reason, as soon as I saw, I think it was like Harry Potter that started it. It's like I think I was Hermione when I was like 5 years old. Because up until that point, my like parents had like the decision making and what costumes I was gonna dress up as because I was too young to have agency. But I think as soon as Harry Potter came out, I was Hermione when I was like 5, and then I just did like a variation of a witch every single year. So I just have such good memories of like there was this one Halloween store. It was like one of like it's a Halloween store like year round, not like Spirit Halloween. It was like a local like person that has like a bunch of like creepy like witchy stuff, but then also like just Halloween like decor just year round.
I think that was just a witch.
I
That's
think it
just your
was.
neighborhood witch.
I think I just was going to my local witch's office. But she was like I think a 40-minute drive away. So she was the witch of like a different neighborhood, but she was our closest one. But she would always have like really cool witch hats. This was like one of them. And so my mom and I would go like every year, and I was like, what like a really cool witch hat are we gonna find? So needless to say, a story about the powerful Cromwell witches was one of my favorites. And then, you know, I always thought that the first one was my favorite, and then I watched the trilogy. I did not rewatch the fourth one, which I was like Googling what like the beef was on that because Kimberly J. Brown, she's like very active on TikTok too. And she ended
I love
up
her. She liked one of my comments.
Did she? Yeah, she seems very
Yes.
sweet, and she ended up marrying
They're
Cal.
engaged.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I'm
Fake
sorry. They
fan.
haven't gotten married yet.
Sorry. Sorry. They got together like years later.
Did you see their engagement photos?
Mm-mm.
So in her engagement photos, she's wearing the earrings that she wore in the second movie when they met.
That's so cute. And it was because like they
Right?
like reconnected like years later, right?
Yeah, I think at like Comic Cons or like that. I don't remember exactly where it is, but the town where they filmed
Mm-hmm.
Halloweentown does like a Halloweentown event
Mm-hmm.
every year, which I would like to go to. But it seems like the cast all comes back and like they're all still close. And so I would like to see them make another film, you know?
Yeah, Halloweentown 5 is come on,
And
get it
not
in the
with whatever
talks.
her name is.
Yeah, Sarah Paxton, I think is her
Yeah,
name.
she had no place there. I mean, like I don't mind her as a person, but I mind her as a Marnie. Um, and I think at some point Disney had said something that was like because of Kimberly J. Brown's like scheduling conflict, she
Mhm.
couldn't be in this movie. And then I think she did end up saying that like she just was never told about
Asked.
it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I
Um,
because I just read an article and I like Sarah Paxton because she's in Aquamarine, another one of my
yeah,
favorite
but
early. And it wasn't, I don't think
she
it was
should know
her
her
fault.
place, This, Halloween Town is above sea level, and that should have been her sign to be like, not for me.
Not
And
for
if I was in the
mermaids.
cast and I saw Kimberly J. Brown not there, I would have walked. I'm sure that's what Sophie did because she wasn't in that fucking movie.
Yeah,
In that sham of a movie.
I don't remember because I don't think I've seen it since it first came out in what like 2006 or something probably, but yeah, I just read an article about like what had happened, why they didn't cast Kimberly J. Brown. And yeah, she said the same thing. Well, first of all, she said she doesn't wish any ill will towards Sarah
No, but
Paxton.
that's okay because I do.
Okay, yeah, Marya's got Kim's back. She's like, I'll fight for you, even if you won't for yourself. But yeah, she said the same thing that like she had originally been in talks for it, and then it just like fell apart. She never heard anything back. And then like boom, there's the movie with Sarah Paxton, which I would like cry and cry and cry. But I guess actors are like somewhat used to that because she said it like wasn't like a huge deal for her. She was just like, oh, I guess they went
That's
in a
for me.
different direction. But yeah, I remember it being a huge upheaval. And in general, I really don't like when they change like actors and actresses midway through like established series, unless there's like a very good reason why they have like the actor's been canceled or something. But I prefer like when they write them off the show instead and we just pretend that, they no longer exist instead of just existing in a different body. But yeah, so upon this rewatch, I thought that like the first one was my favorite, but shout out to Halloweentown High, the third one.
Right?
It was so good. I was like, wait, this is so good. And like I think I don't think that was one that I'd rewatched for like 10 years. Like I had not seen it in a really long time. And when I rewatched it last night, I was like, wait, this one might be like the best one. First of all, Marnie's hair looks the best in that one. She has like these little baby highlights. They got the bangs right. Like her fashion sense in that one is just like so quintessential early 2000s. Like she was a fashion icon. And I just think it has like the best storyline and it just is really good. So I think actually the third one's my favorite now. And I'm gonna have to bring it
And
into
her
my
love interest,
yes.
Finn Wittrock, who is like now nominated for like 2 Emmys, like he knew this was going to be big.
This
He
was his
knew.
start. What does he have the Emmy nominations for?
The assassination of Gianni Versace
Oh, okay.
and American Horror Story.
Mm,
Yeah, he was
okay.
also in like The Big Short. Um, like he's like a big guy. I think yeah, he was in La La Land. He was like I feel like he's always playing the guys that no one chooses. Like he's
Yeah.
always like the fiance that someone leaves
Yep.
another for goes for another person for. So that's like his shtick, but he does it very well. So
R.I.P.
good work. um yeah, no, Halloweentown High is really good. especially just like, I don't know, that like secret room or something, the secret locker.
Yes.
So good. And like has like our faves from High School Musical
I know,
and
and
all that good stuff.
High School Musical was yet to come. This was in
Mm.
2004, and I think High School Musical was 2006. So, because there's a line where the guy that plays, what's his name? Sharpay's brother.
Lucas Grabeel plays
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yes, Ryan.
Brooke,
He
people online have been telling us to please get more educated, so I'm doing my part.
Okay, I'm sorry. I knew his face. I haven't rewatched High School Musical in 10 years either, but it's so funny because there's like a part in there where he says like I'm really into musicals, or like I've always wanted to be in a play or something. And I was like, wait, was this like after High School Musical? Because the actress that plays Kelsey is in there too. And I was like, oh, they have like a little reunion 2 years down the road. Um, but yeah, so my overall thoughts, love it. Seems like the third one is actually really good and is maybe my favorite. Fourth one, I don't know. I have not rewatched.
What I will say about the fourth one is like, yes, they replaced Kimberly J. Brown with I feel like I don't know, I keep saying Kimberly J. Brown. Am I supposed to say Kimberly Brown? I feel like it would be like rude to not do her J. But Sarah Paxton might have won that role over, but Kimberly J. Brown has made a brand out of it. Girl does not have to take on any other jobs going forward. Like, have you seen her Etsy? Where
You
like her
sent me a
Etsy is
link,
just like,
yeah.
yeah, it's just like she will make like she like hand paints Halloweentown signs or like makes t-shirts, and then she'll also do like signed pictures. Someday I do want to shop from Kimberly J. Brown's Etsy. But like she has made a life out of this
Hmm.
role. So honestly, kudos to her because girl was like, I see an opportunity, I see a demand, here's the supply. And I really, really appreciate that. What I'm also wondering is like, she was in, I mean, she was in those three movies, and then she was in Quince, which I remember very
Oh,
specifically.
yes.
And so it felt like for a time she was like a little bit of like a Disney Channel it girl.
Mm.
But then she was never in like any show. I don't know.
Hmm.
I thought that was very odd.
Maybe she was like, I do cinema only. she,
Yeah.
she was a snob. She was like, I don't do television. That's beneath me. But oh my God, speaking of Quince traumatized me because I am an only child. And isn't the plot of that movie? She's like a 15-year-old only child. And then suddenly her parents get pregnant with quintuplets. And I literally had nightmares at night about, because I like my only child life. Like I was settled in my role. I was like, I cannot imagine the like emotional turmoil that adding 5 siblings that are infants is gonna take on me and take on this family unit. And so like I like was counting down my days until I got to like age 15, and I was like, whew, okay, I've made it past I've made it past the Quince movie storyline. And I like said my blessings after that. My parents were like not of childbearing years anymore. Like, keep in mind, like Deb and Russ were like 65 when I was 15. So, there was no chance anyways, but just in case, I was just holding out that smidge of hope and terror. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, but Kimberly J. Brown, that's like the dream, isn't it? You do one thing when you're like
Mhm.
13 and you just can ride on that high.
That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, it's a little too late for us. What did you do when you were 13 that you wish you could like monetize and capitalize off of forever?
I think I did a piano recital.
I did too. I did one every year, but I was really bad at piano. So if I just like stood outside like the church where I did the piano recital and was like, hey, I am available for autographs today. Like it is okay to take paparazzi pictures, but I do
You
charge
can
for them.
you can open up an Etsy store where you just like paint pictures of pianos
Yeah,
and
I
you
like
sign
it.
them. So let's get into the movie, right?
Yes.
So my big question, and this is what I got into a debate with my mother who watched with me. So basically the whole thing is that this is her 13th Halloween, which means that it's the last chance for her to do her training before she turns into a mortal. And her mom wants her to be fully mortal and will not tell her about being a witch. So my question was the mother right?
No,
Okay,
of
thank you.
course not. No, of
My
course
mom was like,
not.
that's her decision. That's the mom's decision. She can decide for the family. But I'm like,
No.
she was like, that's she's too young to decide. But I'm like, but the magic bylaws state that it states that it is gone by 13. So she should have the option to choose. I don't know. I had problems with it. I thought that was like, I don't know.
No, Gwen was totally in the wrong. First of all,
Gwen was a bitch.
Gwen can work a jean jacket. I will
She
give her
can.
that. She looks great in a jean jacket. And I remember like in the first movie, especially, she wears like an oversized jean jacket. And then my mom had an oversized jean jacket and she gave it to me and I was like, oh, I'm so Gwen in this. But no,
You were like, I'm a witch.
I was like, I'm a witch that doesn't have a good relationship with my daughter. No, Gwen was totally in the wrong. That's like, well, first of all, she's lying to her kids. Second of all, she's like essentially denying them their like heritage and their like birthright. It's like they're like mixed race children, and she's like denying that they have any other sort of like part of their like identity. And especially because
Okay.
Marnie was so into like all of this stuff too. It's not like Marnie like went into Spirit Halloween and like sobbed for days afterwards and she was trying to protect her. It was like she actively loved all things like creepy and spooky, and she needed that relationship. I feel like mom just wasn't handling the death of dad very well.
Yeah. Yeah. How did he die, do you think?
I don't know. Like, what if he was killed by a witch or something?
Yeah, I was like killed by an assassin, because that's the thing is like, if we kind of compare it to like the mixed race idea, we don't really go into that too much. Like Grandma Aggie, love her, but she does say something about like, you married a mortal, and like she has like a tone about it, and then she's like, you're lucky that they ever even showed powers at all. And I'm like, is Grandma Aggie like racist? Like I was
Yeah,
like,
I saw on Letterboxd, which is funny. Like you could, I mean, like it's I don't think it's that serious, but you could make like a allegorical thing out of this story where it is about like, you know, races and segregation and
does Grandma Aggie vote
prejudice.
Republican? Like,
I think that like well, because back to what I was saying is that someone on Letterboxd said like this is my favorite pro-segregation film,
yeah.
which it's true. I mean, I think they talk about like, you know, that the monsters like were so heavily like hunted down by the mortals that they needed to create their own world. Because it's funny because they're like the if we're thinking about it in terms of like that kind of allegory, they're the ones that are, you know, being hunted down for like who they are, or their race or whatever, their race of being like these immortal
I
creatures, but they also have like the power, you know, like when
mm,
you talk about like race relationships, it's always like power dynamics play like a huge important role. And it's weird that they're like the ones that are persecuted, but they also have power to like wipe out the mortal race completely. So it's like they both have power, but yet are also the ones being persecuted. So they just went off to their own dimension.
I just like, now that makes me realize that like the second movie is like the desegregation movie, and then the third one is like desegregated schools.
Yes, it's literally
Um,
Brown versus Board of Education.
and then the fourth is like Marnie goes to the HBCU.
I don't remember the fourth one at all, but
Well, she goes to like a wizard school, so she's basically like going to a school specifically for magical folk.
Okay.
So I don't know. That puts a lot into perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was what it was meant to be, but
I think that it's natural to see some of those themes, but oh, and Disney Channel was kind of on there like, what was that one movie with like the South
Luck of the Irish.
African?
Oh.
Nope. It's
Luck of the
like,
Irish deals with racism too, but of the
yeah,
Irish.
like I mean Disney Channel early 2000s, they were kind of hitting it hard, but no, it's like what is it? It's like the
Oh,
power
Color
of
of Friendship.
yeah, I was gonna say power of friendship. Yeah, color of friendship or whatever. They were
And
kind of
Remember the
like,
Titans. That was school desegregation.
yeah, they were kind of like on a theme. So I think that
Mhm.
maybe they were like, just someone had like pitched just a straightforward like segregation story and desegregating schools. And they were like, I like it, but can we have it release in the fall? And they were like,
So we have
sure.
Monstober.
Yeah, they were like, I love it, but just looking at the calendar for this year, this is gonna fall dead heart of Monstober. What can we do to have it fit that theme? But yeah, I don't think so, but also who knows? And I think it's
Mhm.
natural to draw those some of those comparisons. But yeah, I think that Gwen was totally in the wrong.
Mhm.
Again, it would be different if it was something like she was like if we got backstory on the dad and oh, what if he was assassinated by someone who didn't like the intermingling of a witch and a mortal or whatever, but there was like no clear like threat that was in the movie. There was no like clear or present danger like we'd have in the third one with the knights who aren't even really a threat. It's like their own prejudice that's stopping them from intermingling, but we don't have that. And I think that Gwen was just had a bad relationship with her mother, and I think she just wasn't addressing any of her childhood hurt, and she was doing them a
That's the
disservice.
psychology perspective.
Yeah, I think we just have a lot of broken families.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, she was totally in the wrong.
Good.
Now,
Thank
what do
you.
you think about Marnie? Because you said that
Fuck
you think,
Marnie.
yeah, you said you think she's a bitch, and people on Letterboxd, some of them agree with you because I saw someone else say like Marnie is such a bitch. I love her so much. They were like, she's the bitchiest witch there is. I love her. Explain your perspective because I don't think she's a bitch. I think that she like clearly has like a very like open way of talking with her mother. But I think that she's just like a teenager expressing her frustration.
My issue is not with Marnie's relationship with her mom. My
Okay.
issue is with Marnie's relationship to her little sister, Sophie,
Okay.
because she always says stuff like, especially because I watched it this morning to get the evidence. And when she's talking to her mom in like the mayor's office, she's like, Sophie probably doesn't belong here. Dylan doesn't want to be here. I'm the only one who belongs. And I'm like, girl, you would be standing outside of Aggie's house right now if Sophie hadn't stepped up and turned that lock into a frog. Sophie is the only one who actually has like powers. When Benny is attacking Dylan, she's the one who like releases the dog. Also,
Hmm.
I'm sorry to whoever's dog that is. Hopefully you find them. I think the Cromwells should work on reparations. I don't know. But then like Marnie doesn't even remember the spell that turns on the little Merlin's thing. And who comes to her aid? Sophie. And you know what happens when they make it light up? Marnie's first response is to go, I did it. Girl. Girl,
She
you did
corrects
what?
herself.
Girl, you did what? It is like Dora saying we did it. Bitch, you did nothing. I found that bridge.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just pissed me off because Sophie's the one who's talented, and then Sophie is just like knocked off. Basically, she's in the second one, and she finally gets to ride her broom, which is fucking finally. One, she's like on the couch once, and then
Mhm.
fourth one, I don't think she's in it at all. And
Mm-mm.
she was the real talent. And Marnie's like, I am the talent of the family. Bitch, you are not. As long as Sophie lives and breathes, you are second class and you should know your place.
Oh my god. You're like, we are Sophie supremacy in this house.
Because so Sophie's making cookies float, and
Mhm.
Marnie's like, I'm an all-powerful witch because I get deja vu. Sophie's over here like making shit come out of thin air and turning locks into frogs, and Marnie's like, I've been here before. Like that is that is not power, girl.
Well, I think that in Marnie's defense,
No.
I think that she just says that Sophie doesn't belong here because she's like 6 years old and she probably needs to stay with her mother. I think that's
But
what
that is called a prodigy. Sorry,
No,
Marnie.
I don't
Sorry,
think
Marnie, but
I don't think she is a prodigy. I think that she says to her mom, like, Sophie is exhibiting so many magical skills, like just solely because of her age. And Marnie and Gwen have a conversation where, like, she asks if all the stuff that happened to Sophie happened to her too. So I think
but there
all
are
is
parts that are not just her age, like remembering the little spell
yeah.
and
I
knowing
think
that if you to make magic work, you have to want something and
Mhm.
let yourself have it. I don't know why that was my impression of Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, but I think like stuff like that is like a product of like being a little kid, right? Because like Marnie has been taught that magic doesn't exist, and Sophie is like 5 or 6 years old and is still she's not that young. I think she's maybe like 6 or 7, and she's still at the age where like she can think that magic does exist and it's easier for her to like wish something and have it happen. But I think that Marnie has like poor short-term memory because she like can't remember the spell in the first one, and then in the second one it's all
She
about
says
how
Betty Gunther. When the fuck did that happen? I'm not a witch, but I remember Agatha not being like Betty Gunther, Betty Mir. I don't know. Like
Betty
at least I
March.
got that.
Yeah, and she does it in the second one too, where she can't remember like the time travel spell. But to her credit, that one was pretty difficult as well.
It was Trappa. It was Trappa.
That one's not the time travel spell. That one was the gray spell, the reverse of
But
that one.
I'm just that girl. I think Sophie should have been the lead. I genuinely
Yeah.
think that I will go to my grave. Marnie had no natural talent.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I know she's a child. But if Abby Lee Miller can say it, let's just say Marnie is not on top of any pyramid.
Marnie's at the bottom. And on top, we have Sophie.
So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Well, I love that they
She
shout
just
out.
doesn't get any respect.
Sophie doesn't?
Yeah, Sophie just gets no respect. They're like, Marnie, you did it. And it's like, bitch, she wasn't alone.
Yeah. I don't know. Sibling dynamics. Do you think the youngest one just always gets shit on in your experience?
Yes. Junie, hello.
It's the Spy Kids theory of it all.
I'm done.
I love that they shout out Cleveland in this film. They're like, I think Dylan says it. He's like,
I know, I wrote that down too.
yeah, he's like, what about Cleveland? I hear they had a great school district. And I was like, yes, we do. I was like, Cleveland is the Halloweentown of Ohio. But also, I think it's so funny. Like, I feel like Dylan really like humbles us, right? Like he is playing the brother role perfectly. Like Dylan has to bring us back down to reality because I love when they're looking at the Halloweentown book and Sophie's like, "Look, Marnie, it's you." And she's like, "It is me." And it is the most generic picture of a girl that
It was a brown head girl.
it was practically a stick figure. It was like one step away from a stick figure, and she was like, it is me. And then Dylan looks at it and he was like, no, it's not. I mean, he makes a joke and he's like, she's way too cute. But I was like, this is a stick figure drawing. And she's like,
Marnie sees a smiley face sticker and she goes, it is me.
yeah. She's like, it looks exactly like me. So I thought that was really funny. And then a couple like cute moments. I love Grandma Aggie's like bubble toil and trouble on the microwave setting. Just also iconic. And then let's get into the character of Luke, because I feel like he is being mistreated. Like especially towards the end of the film, where he's like, what kind of creature? He's like a goblin or something. And then Calabar like makes him hot. But then we kind of just like leave him there at the end, and Marnie like remembers that she has to go and like thank him for like saving her and helping her in the end. And then I love that they're like, wait, Luke, we have a job for you. And then they just make him the bus driver. Like, I'm so confused. How old is he? Does he even have like a driver's license? Because like if they want them to be in almost a relationship or at least a friendship, she's 13. I would assume he's only maybe like a year or two older than her. So like 14, 15. We're looking at a learner's permit at best. And they're like,
but we majorly friend zone him in the second one. So that went downhill. Why does Marnie have so many love interests?
She really does.
Like Taylor Swift level.
She's a hot commodity. She's a Cromwell. I mean, Gwen has a lot of love interests too. They're like,
That's
oh,
true.
the mayor, yeah, he had the hots for me in high school. And then I think in like the second one or the third one too, they say something about someone else in Halloweentown having a crush on Gwen, and it's just like, damn,
Well,
Gwen
she had that denim jacket.
She can pull all the men in the denim jacket. She puts that on and they just like flock towards her. But yeah.
Also, why doesn't Luke come back in any of the others? Like, I would think that like Luke would have come back as like part of the exchange program or something in Halloweentown High, but it's like childhood friends, and you know that he's like posted something on like Twitter or Facebook where he's like, when you lose an old friend and you just become strangers with memories.
Yeah, Luke is hurting, and I feel bad for him. I feel like, well, first of all, his character design between first and second film is so wildly different. Like they have his like face reveal at the end of the first movie, and he's like very much goblin, like huge, like he has like all these like distorted, like not distorted, but like huge nose and like huge ears, like the big hair and everything. And then we get into the second film and he's like mortal Luke again with like none of that stuff on. But then when he turns into like normal Luke, like the goblin Luke, his character design is completely different. He has like just like a slightly oversized nose and like poofy hair. And that's like it. I was like, wow, did they like lose someone in the makeup department that they were like, no, we don't want to put on like all the prosthetics again. Like, let's just do like a smidge of the original character design. But yeah, I feel really bad for him. He's like totally friend zoned in the second movie.
Well,
and
I think, of course, the first part that you said about his first character design, how he like has turned into mortal Luke or whatever. Then he specifically says, he claims some shadow monster gave it to him. That's concerning. Like, do we not have see something, say something in the Halloweentown verse?
No. No, we don't. But I like how they're like, man, a mysterious shadow monster is going around. And hey, a shadow monster fixed Luke's face. And they're like, it must be different people.
Like, what did they think it was? Like a Mary Kay representative just came by the house.
Yeah. He got really good concealer. Oh my gosh. But yeah, he's an interesting character in the first one, and how he comes to realize Calabar's evil plan, which it just seems like so many people like in government really wanna just kill all the mortals and take back like their land, which what I don't understand is like if they had the power to create like an entirely separate dimension, why did they just make like one town? Like is there like overcrowding problems? Like why do they keep wanting to take back Earth? Like were they not just able, if they can create an entire dimension, to just create like an entire new Earth? Like are the motivations behind taking back Earth like overcrowding? Like they can't get an apartment in Halloweentown because they just made like one freaking like town square population of like every monster that's in the universe.
Grandma
So
Aggie is like, Marty, you can get an apartment. They're for reasonable price. And they're like, your what you pay every month is so much less because you got your house 200 years ago
yeah.
when the economy was different, Grandma Aggie.
Yeah. They're like, Grandma, I'm actually going to need you to sit this one out because I cannot find an affordable housing here in Halloweentown. You know why? Airbnb. They're going to be like, everyone here, it's just every apartment is an Airbnb. It's for all these mortals to come by and like gawk at us, and people that actually live in the town can't even afford to be here anymore. So yeah, I just love that it's like evil men in government. Like if some things are universal, right? It's just like, yeah, that's an evil white guy in government, an old white man um doing all this bad stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's a theme that goes across universal boundaries of time and space. Um but yeah,
My
so
question is, what do you think? What do you think the Cromwell kids' lifespan is?
I mean, they said that Grandma Aggie, like in Halloweentown High, is talking about like the Renaissance.
Yeah.
So I think she's like 1,000 years old. Also, like, why would Gwen want to like deny her kids that too? Like, it seems like they have like powers of living forever. It would seem like you would want that for your kids, especially since your husband had like an untimely death. I'd be like, yeah, I want my kids to have an unnaturally long lifespan. Which she does too, doesn't she? Like, I mean, Gwen is very much a witch. She's not mortal. So was she just planning on like living forever and then having her kids die at like age 85? And she
Yeah,
just
I
like
don't know. And
slowly
then
ages?
it also gets into the question, like, is Benny a old wizard that lost his skin? Like how did that, like, has Aggie just been able to hold on to her skin and all of that good stuff? Or like
Do you think like he like exfoliated too hard one day?
yeah.
Like he's probably like an ancient wizard. He's like before the dawn of time, and then he just was in the shower after like being 7,000 years old, and he got out that little scrub brush, and then it all just flaked off, and then once
Yeah.
once the skin's gone, the muscle just wastes away. And
Yeah.
then he was like, you know what I'll do now? Cab driver.
Okay. Also, another thing about that, when I was watching this morning, something I've never noticed is that I'm pretty sure, because I paused it and went through it a bunch of times, the taxi cab has the Illuminati symbol on it.
Really? Oh my god. Disney, what are you doing?
It's very odd. It's like a triangle with an eye.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Do you think it's because Benny has no eyes?
I don't know.
So they were like, we gotta put the all-seeing eye on the cab. All right. Well, any other like hot takes or iconic moments from the first one before we wanted to touch on specifics in the second and third?
Um, I just wanted to say that Debbie Reynolds is iconic. Obviously, I am like into tap dancing, so obviously I will always love Singing in the Rain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was like my Debbie Reynolds awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Although sometimes, and I hope I haven't done it here, sometimes I do call her Debbie Ryan, and I don't know. We're very different people. But I think she like brought it in this one. Like
Hmm.
no wrong choices, you know, like she went all in. Um, and she was our childhood and RIP.
Yes, love her. Oh, I wish she
Okay,
was
now
my
I'm done.
grandma. One other thing I'll say, I was watching this. I didn't realize how like the cinematography choices were interesting. It was so zoomed in on people's faces, and like the way that they set up these shots, people would be like completely cut out of the shot because they were so zoomed in on like
I
one of the
know.
characters that I thought there was a setting wrong on my TV. I like looked out like multiple times. I was like, this can't be right. I was like, something's wrong. And I had to like go through and like actually like do like hit the different buttons to see if there was something that I had like accidentally touched. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting choice. I don't know if that was just like early 2000s or the Disney Channel style where they would be really zoomed in on like one face, but I thought that was an interesting thing that I noticed this time around.
Interesting.
And then the second is that I wanted Grandma Aggie's bag so much. I feel like, like Harry Potter does it too with like Hermione does like I can't remember what they call it, but like basically like an expandable extension charm or whatever
Mhm.
on her bag. And it's like a common kind of theme with these like magical unending purses. And I'm like, what I wouldn't give
And
because
it's always the female character who has it because they know that we don't have pockets. And
of
so we want that.
course. Yeah, of course. It's like what do we do? Well, otherwise we just have it like between our fingers. I'm carrying like my phone, a water bottle. Like I can carry like 100 things within my 10 fingers. And I've been
Yeah.
trained as a woman with no pockets. So having a bag that could hold literally like an entire household worth of goods is just like a wet dream for me. It's just so great. And then the last thing I'll say is that I love this movie, but for some reason, the actual like pumpkin like scared me as a kid because it like in that picture too, like it's supposed to be decaying. But let me tell you, it doesn't get like that much better once they like restore it to full like health with the like Merlin's wand. And then in the second film, when they have it like replaced by this like it almost looks like fascist architecture of like everything gray and square, and they
It
have this
needs a little tongue sticking out.
it needs something like it just has like a vaguely threatening aura to me that was unsettling for me as a kid. But I love the costume design in this film so much. And I feel like we've come to the point in fashion where all of the like early 2000s fashions are now coming back in style, and I feel like Kimberly J. Brown was just doing it better than anyone else. I was like, I want that top.
Mhm.
I was like, I want that choker, like especially in the third film. But I love Grandma Aggie's like witch outfits and all of her cloaks, and like I feel like everything is like velvety too. And it was
Mhm.
just such an inspiration for my witch costumes growing up.
I will
I
say one more thing. Speaking of like the beauty and the costuming and all of that good stuff, um, I do think when they go on their little quest to like get like the sweat of a ghost and the hair of a werewolf, did they have to go after a werewolf who is a hairdresser and takes so much pride in his hair? Like that was targeted. Like there were other werewolves in town. I just thought that that was really rude
But he liked his haircut. He was like, "Yeah, baby," and he liked it.
because he was hiding
He was hiding his true
behind a mask.
emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do love that like little sequence there where they're going through town and finding everything. I remember
Sophie's
like
gonna be canceled for maybe that's why she's not in the later films
that
because of
is
her
see.
stereotypical ghost impressions.
I'm telling you, if we go back to like the race allegory, Sophie did blackface essentially. Um, but yeah, I love you can see like how I don't know if they were like considered exactly low budget, but with the vampire taking out the tooth, and then you can like clearly see that her tooth is just like blacked in. Like they were not paying super attention to detail there. But I remember loving that sequence as a kid. And I think
Oh,
like
it didn't hurt at all. I don't know why
yeah,
she was like vaguely Irish. Thank
I don't know what accent that
you,
was.
doctor. It didn't hurt at all. I don't know.
I think it was just like generic Transylvanian accent.
It felt Irish to me.
Oh, all right. Do we want to jump in to the next two films real quick? Just any.
Sure. I didn't have any real thoughts, but I'm willing to hear yours.
Okay. In the second film, I always thought that the second film was my favorite, but it was like tied between the first and second film, and I remember really liking it. But upon rewatch, it was still good, but I think that it's just like a little bit lazy in the writing compared to like what they did with the third one, because they were like, oh, you know what, instead of having the exact same villain, like we were talking about with like Avatar 2, where it's like, well, the first villain did a great job, why don't we bring back the exact same guy? And this one they were like, well, the first villain was great, what if we just brought back his son to do the exact same thing? And it was like, he was like, yeah, my dad doesn't talk about me much. And it's like, yeah, it's because you're fucking crazy. It's like you're bent on like world domination. But I remember loving like the like scene where they're sorting socks in the one guy's home as they're like turning gray. And I also love how they have like such like tremendous responsibility with the powers that they possess, and like they have access to like the entire manipulation of time and space. And like the only things that they're trying to do are like, I want to ride a broom. I'm like, I'm just a normal teenage girl. And I'm like, wow, you have immense powers and you should take those responsibly. But yeah, I really like the second one too. I think that it's an interesting, moment for us to be led into the third movie, and they like break open the barrier between the worlds. But I also like how easy it was because they were like, no, they were like, like also like the tragedy of like, I'm really hung up on this fact that like time works differently in Halloweentown, and grandma could only visit like once a year, which also back to like the first one real quick, and Sophie's like, somebody's coming, and I'm like, it's your grandma, bitch, like you see her every
and I would put
Halloween.
those pieces together. I would be like, isn't it weird that she only comes on Halloween?
Yeah, or like even if I
like at least Dylan should have figured that out,
Yeah, even
if I feel like Dylan is the kind of kid who has a planner and a calendar.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, Grandma Aggie has appeared for only several hours. Like, this is their only grandma, like, that we know of. Like, there's not like a second
I would resent
grandma.
her.
I would be like, she doesn't love me. No birthday cards, no nothing, because like they haven't figured out the interdimensional like postal system.
I mean, she shows up once a year and she gives me garlic. Fuck you, grandma.
That's just an Italian grandma. Once a year, garlic, tomato sauce. But yeah, so I was like, how have they not put two and two together? Not even like assuming she's a witch, but just like, somebody's coming. Yeah, it's Grandma Aggie, you dumb bitch. Like, this is the only time you see her, and it's every single year without fail. But anyway,
I hope that it would be like, someone's coming. Don't know when. Bringing back the West Side Story.
But yeah, so I love how like this was like a huge issue for them, and it was like families are torn apart and the loved ones can't see each other, and we're separating the worlds for their own good. And then like who fucking fixed that problem? Marnie, because she didn't want to miss out on like the Halloween party at the high school. I know that's not the real reason why, but like in context, it's just funny that she was like, well, I don't want to spend my year with grandma now. I want to spend it next year. So let's bust this bitch open. And then all it took was like getting on their little cell phones and being like, hey, everyone, why don't we all use the Cromwell magic to like just huddle together and think good thoughts about bursting open this interdimensional portal. And then they did. I was like, you know what? Maybe the Cromwell witches do need like some like sanctions. Like maybe they need to be monitored, because it seems like they violated some sort of treaty in doing so. But yeah, So I thought that was funny. And then do we want to talk about the third movie for a little bit?
Sure, I don't have anything to say about that one either, but
Well, how come it's your favorite one?
I mean, I talked about like the locker. I liked the locker.
Okay.
I like school events in which a club is putting together something to explain their brand. Also, weren't they like the drama club or something?
Who?
I don't remember. The group, they were like, what did they call themselves? Was it the theater club or something?
Oh, I don't know. I think they were just the foreign exchange students.
Oh, okay. I remember it being like the drama club, and I was like, did no one else do theater at this school?
No, I think it was just like the foreign exchange students. They were like, we're going to show them what Canada is like.
And then they did Halloween, and I feel like people were confused. Also, I feel like, I don't know, were they taught enough to be like held at the same rigorous level as like American students in high school? Like it kind of gets into like, remember when Elle started school in Stranger Things?
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know, you said that she doesn't know any numbers beyond 11.
11.
Like, was it fair for them to be held to the same
No, but
standards?
I think they were only in school for like 4 weeks. So
They're like, what are the phases of matter? And they're like, well, I can tell you about all the colors that are in candy corn. Like, I don't know.
Well, first of all, that's a stereotype of Halloweentown residents, Marriya.
Sorry.
No, I think like I love this one. I'll say a couple interesting things. I really like this like haunting presence of like an imminent threat that they had with like the knights of like whatever. I think they just called them like the knights.
Isn't what I don't know. Was it the Knights of Templar? I don't remember.
I don't think it was the Knights of Templar, but I think I don't know.
It might have been that might have been National Treasure. I don't know.
That was definitely National Treasure, but it could have also been this. But I think they just called them like it was shortened to the Knights, and it was like the Knights were this like threatening presence, and it felt very much like Twitches to me. Like it brings about like a very specific, ominous, but yet Disney Channel friendly threat that both the Twitches and specifically only this movie, only the third one of Halloweentown like has. And
Knights of the Iron Dagger.
Knights of the Iron Dagger, yeah. And they I love that they get this the like character of the principal is so interesting because so like again an evil man in government, the one that's like on like the council of I don't know, it looks like almost their Supreme Court. Like they're all dressed up in like wigs and justices have like the robes and everything. And he's the one that's actually like making sure that it's known that the people of Halloweentown still have like threats against them. And he like recruits the principal and tells him that he's a part of this like long line or whatever. And I love it. Like the principal is just like all in. Like he clearly was bored at school. Like he has no wife, no kids. Like he's working this job.
He has a bird.
He has a bird that gets very promptly eaten by Grandma Aggie's suitcase. But I just love how he was just like, yeah, he just like went along with it. He was like, that makes sense. And then he is dedicated to his role. He's out there with some chalk, like painting the dagger onto the school sidewalk. And he's so happy with his work. And then he's like still all in and he's like, yeah, the freaks must go. But then he also has this like side relationship with Grandma Aggie. Like he and Grandma Aggie are like fucking. And so he's still like all in on the prejudice. And then like Grandma Aggie like falls to the ground and he's like, not my babe. he's like, absolutely not. He was like, you can mess with my bird, you can mess with my school, but you do not mess with my bitch. And I love the 180 for him because he's like, the freaks, including you, Aggie, must get out of here. Back to your world. We hate you. And then she like falls on the ground and he's like, never mind, this ring never fit. And he's like, I love you, baby. He like realized what he was missing. So he's just like a goofy character to me. But yeah, I loved The Secret Locker too. And I feel like I was also at that point, at that age, I was like, 6 years old. I also like, I don't know if when you were 6, you also like fantasized about what high school would look like too. You're like in elementary. I did. I was like,
I wasn't excited for the future.
I didn't think I had a future beyond lunch period. No, I remember like as like a little kid watching, because I feel like almost every Disney Channel like movie or series is surrounded like surrounds the idea of high school students or going to high school. Like it's all very like high school centric. And so I remember always like fantasizing about what high school would be like. And I was like, man, I hope I get a locker that opens up into a secret room where I can sit and hang out with my friends. But yeah, I really liked the third one. It brought a lot of interesting themes together. And even though it wasn't the conclusion to the series, I feel like we could end it there and not see the fourth one and still be satisfied with how it ended.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to get into our remakes?
Sure.
Okay. Mine are kind of stupid. I didn't have a lot of time to brainstorm these, but the first one is that I think that Halloweentown should get a plastic surgeon. And then Luke never goes over to the dark side. If he can just, get a nose job, or, I'm all for, having plastic surgery for people that want it. I personally don't think I would ever get plastic surgery, but I think that we have a dentist, we have the dentist, we have the hairdresser, we have, school, government. Plastic surgeon is just waiting to be filled in that little strip mall area. And then if that were to be the case, then no shadow monster magic needed. He just goes in for like a follow-up appointment instead of like essentially making a deal with the devil.
Yeah, because I think if you like found him on Craigslist and he's like, I want to meet in the abandoned movie theater, I would be like, I'm gonna go to Dr. Andre, who meets on Main Street.
Yeah, he's like looking, he's weighing his options there. Craigslist.
You don't even have insurance.
He's like Craigslist, and he's like, okay, meet in the back of the abandoned alley. Name Shadow Monster. Okay, doesn't seem as reputable, but
do you take Aetna? Do you take Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Dr. Andre takes Medicaid, he takes Medicare, and he has a treatment plan. He has before and after photos, he has reviews, he's on my chart. Like he is a reputable source. So if we take away Luke as a henchman, I don't think Calabar is getting very far, because the second movie reveals that he like bought Grandma Aggie's second spell book like 50 or 60 years prior. It took him 50 or 60 years to get like the local teenage goblin to be his henchman. So I just feel like Calabar's just like not really giving it his all here.
My question is, why? I don't understand why he can't go out in the sun if Calabar goes out in the sun. I didn't get that. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
They didn't do a lot of like character building with him in particular.
Like, does like Calabar wear sunscreen and the shadow monster doesn't? Like, the shadow monster just needs to pick up like some SPF. Like, is that the issue?
Shadow monster is highly afraid of melanoma. But yeah, I just don't think Cal's like really putting like all his like thought and energy into that. He's like hiding his like illegitimate son, working on the mayorship and everything, which brings me to my next remake. I think that they should have stayed true to form, and they should have had to wait until the next local election to vote Calabar out of office. Like, if we're really gonna go for accuracy here, Halloweentown needs to operate like all other, towns, at least here in my America point of view. We have evil mayors all the time. Calabar would be a dime a dozen here in America. And so I just love that, it's Calabar out in the middle of the day, shooting down spells to the to the Cromwells, just like in front of everyone too. I love that the entire town is just like standing there while the Cromwells are being like beat to shit. And they're just like, damn. They're like, oh my god, that's our mayor.
He was like, he said he was gonna say he was gonna make Halloweentown great again.
Yeah, so he's essentially Donald Trump. But I love that, like, so, you know, reimagining this version of Halloweentown, he's out there, he's shooting down the spells, and then instead of anyone actually helping, they're just like, this is why local elections matter. they're like all of these magical creatures, other witches, werewolves, warlocks, fairies, you know, they all have their magical powers, but they're like, you know what's more powerful than all of that? The power of voting.
They start sharing on Instagram.
Yeah.
You probably heard what happened in Halloweentown. Here's what you can do to help.
Here's the organization.
Register to vote.
Register to vote. Vote out Calabar. And so yeah, so then, you know, come the next election cycle, he is no longer the mayor of Halloweentown, which theoretically is like the highest governing position, since yet again they only made a town when they could have made an entire universe. But nope, Calabar holds the highest voted office there. So I love that. And then I think a remake for like the second movie, you know how it's like, oh no, like, you know, they're turning Halloweentown into what they envision as like a caricature of like the mortal world. But I think more realistically, what happens in the mortal world when you encounter like abandoned shops and everything, like an abandoned mall, abandoned store, you know, anything like that, is that it's taken over by a party city. So I think it's much more realistic to have a completely gray party city, and then everyone just feels a little more at home in there. So I thought that was funny. And then with the first one as well, you know how she yells at him like, hey, chocolate bar, and that's like the big diss. I think that it could be like a Snickers commercial, and she's like, hey, chocolate bar, and then he's like, yeah, and she's like, you're not you when you're hungry. And then Calabar takes one bite, and then suddenly he is a peaceable, reasonable man. So yeah, those were my remakes. What about you, Marriya?
Okay. So at the beginning of the film, we start out with Aggie bringing the kids gifts, and one thing that she does bring is like ruins from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which I think leads to a crossover with the Mummy universe. And so my next version of Halloweentown would be if we got Rick O'Connell and gang, played by Brendan Fraser, of course, venturing into Halloweentown, because that is where the mummy is in hiding. So I think that one would be fun. I also was thinking about like if there was a town for another like holiday, and for some reason I immediately started with St. Patrick's Day, and then I realized that that's just Ireland.
that's the entire country.
But you could do like April Fool's Day, and like the mayor goes around with one of those like the little flower brooches that like shoot water and stuff, and everyone's slipping on banana peels, and it's just chaos, and they're like, we were voted out of America, maybe for a reason. So that's a different take on it. I was also thinking, again, off the lines of like, why is it one town? I was thinking about Halloween City. So it's just like a little bit more intense. And so they're like trying to find directions to Grandma Aggie's house. There are just 3 unaccompanied children, and they get mugged. They're
held up at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's just like a little bit more intense. They're like, you're not in small town whatever America anymore. This is Halloween City, bitch. Yeah.
I love it. I love how, well, because I was thinking about, you know, like other holiday towns, and it's like the Nightmare Before Christmas, right? But
that was my other one.
but I like how you like I like the spin where it's just like minor holidays. So I feel like, it's like Arbor Day town, President's Day town, but I like with the April Fool's one, I feel like it's like all YouTube prankster like people like anyone on YouTube that does like pranks for a living. I think
We
that
were
they should get
canceled. We were
exiled.
voted off.
Yeah, I think they should get exiled from the world and sent over to this different dimension of April Fool's Town. And then
Like occasionally impractical jokers will visit.
yeah. Let's see how everything's going.
Yeah. But then my final one was that it is, since Halloweentown is also a world in Nightmare Before Christmas, we just combine those worlds so that when Marnie, Sophie, and Dylan go into Halloweentown, they become stop motion puppets. And basically the same events occur.
I love it. I feel like that's something that had potential to be created in the early 2000s. Right? I'm surprised someone didn't do it. Oh, all right. Well, are there any Who's Your Daddy stats?
So this is a non-Nepo movie.
Wow.
And you can see them also taking a stand against nepotism because the Cromwells are so powerful. And Gwen was like, I'm not going to be a Nepo baby. I'm going to go off and be like a real estate agent, Like she's just like, I'm leaving my family behind.
Yeah.
I know that they can get me jobs at like the law firm, but I am going to go and start my own path.
I love it. All right. Well, what have you been watching lately, Marriya?
So I finished Only Murders in the Building. They finished season 3 and now they're renewed for season 4. I got most things right. So that was good. I also watched See How They Run, which is like it's like based around like the Agatha Christie's Mousetrap play, and then like a screenwriter dies there and they have to like investigate, and it follows like an Agatha Christie format. But so that was really good. What I did find is that, and it's like has like that bumbling detective kind of thing, and Saoirse Ronan is actually like a really good comedic talent, which I didn't realize. So hooray for her. Saoirse Ronan's dad is Paul Ronan, who is an Irish actor who was in a bunch of TV shows. So didn't realize that she was Nepo. Ruth Wilson, her grandfather was Alexander Wilson, who was an MI6 agent, writer, and spy. It seems like he wrote a bunch of mystery books. But after his death, his family realized that he was a serial polygamist. And like all of this stuff came out about how he lied to everyone. And like a bunch of stuff came out about like how he was like pursuing all these different relationships through his spy world. And then in 2018 they made like a BBC miniseries called Mrs. Wilson about all of his wives and how they were all like ruined by his lies. And Ruth Wilson played her own grandmother in that. So there was that. And then I watched Invitation to a Murder, which was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's like basically an Agatha Christie. It's basically a adaptation of And Then They Were None, but really bad. And like the ultimate murder is solved by like a Ring camera. So it's like it's not exactly good sleuthing. It's just really, really painful. And I would not recommend anyone watch it. But it does have Misha Barton, whose mother is Nuala Quinn Barton, who is a big film producer. Specifically, she produced A Ring of Endless Light to keep with the DCOM, one of the first DCOMs. So good little connection there. And then I finally watched Little Miss Sunshine, which was great.
I love that movie.
You love road trip movies, right? Is that right or no?
I mean, I don't hate them.
You like College Road Trip or whatever that movie is. So I feel like you do you not like that movie? Am I making that up?
I mean, I don't know what movie that is with
I
Raven
swear to
Simone.
God, you've talked about some like college road trip movie.
Um,
Maybe
the one,
not.
the one with like Raven Simone.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I felt like you liked road trip movies, but this is a good road trip movie. And then I watched Taylor Swift's Reputation concert.
Oh,
And
are
I
you a
made
Swiftie?
I don't know what I am. But I
Okay.
made friendship bracelets, and so if I ever have time, I'll go see like the Eras movie. But as of right
Mhm.
now, I don't have time to eat, sleep, or shower.
Hmm.
So we'll see.
Well, I'm glad you liked Little Miss Sunshine. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, Raven Simone College Road Trip.
I
Not one
swear
of
to
my
God,
favorite.
you liked
No.
that movie.
I mean, I think I saw it. I don't remember hating
I
it.
swear to God, that's like your favorite movie of all time.
It's not my favorite movie.
I don't know
Um,
who I'm thinking of.
I don't
Um,
know.
so what have you been watching?
I've been watching only College Road Trip with Raven Simone. I was on a plane ride and they had like good movies for free. So I watched The Little Mermaid, the new one, which everyone like was fucking insane about that movie. Like it was totally normal to me. Like in fact good. I was like, "Oh, this was like I felt like a pretty like good like recreation of the original." With its own little twist, I thought it was fine. Like I was like, everyone was nuts about that. I thought it was good. So I don't know. 4 stars for me, maybe three and a half, maybe 3.5, but I thought it was good.
How are the new
Um,
songs?
there was like, I don't even remember there being new songs.
Oh,
I remember like with the kiss the girl one, they like changed it a little bit to have like consent, which
oh.
is fine. That's good. But I don't remember like anything else. Melissa McCarthy was fine. I honestly feel like that Ursula should have been played just by like an actual drag queen. I feel like that would have been a better casting choice.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy was a strange
Yeah,
choice for that.
I think she was like my only kind of like hiccup. And I love Melissa McCarthy. I love her and like other stuff, but I feel like Ursula, because Ursula's design was based off like a very famous drag queen. Um, and I feel like it should have just been played by a drag queen, but I don't know. It was okay though. And then I saw Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which was really sweet, just kind of like run of the mill, um, kind
Had
of
you read
like
the book?
no, I had not read the book, but kind of like, coming of age with like the added facet of like religion and trying to sort out her own religion. Um, but it was really sweet. I really liked it. And then I saw A Good Person with Florence Pugh and I think directed by Zach Braff or something or produced by Zach Braff. Which was so sad. You should not watch that on an airplane because I was literally like sobbing. Thankfully, I was in the window seat, so like only my parents could see me really. But I was like trying to be quiet and I was like dry sobbing, like it was so sad. Um, but also like parts of it didn't make sense. I don't know. I like where they ended up, I guess, and I like how it ended, but it felt like we were going nowhere with the plot for a long time. Like it felt like it was just some parts were just sad and tragic just to experience and feel the sadness and tragedy. And some of it just felt like unrealistic with like
Mm.
this for everyone who doesn't know, it's about like Florence Pugh plays this character who is like driving to go try on wedding dresses with her future like brother and sister-in-law, and she gets into a car wreck. She's the driver. She gets into a car wreck with like a construction crane or whatever, and then both her future brother and sister-in-law die. And then their like only daughter is orphaned, and Morgan Freeman plays like the grandpa, and it's really a story about like drug and alcohol addiction and stuff, and Florence Pugh's character like gets addicted to opioids after like surviving the horrible crash and initially having them for pain medication management, but then getting addicted. And
she does that same thing in another movie.
really?
Yeah, she was in another movie recently about Florence Pugh having an addiction.
Oh.
That started with addiction for pain and then addiction for addiction.
Well, but yeah, it was
She
so
has a type.
sad. She's a type. She loves opioids. But yeah, so it was just like really sad, but I don't know. It felt like it just stalled a little bit, like 2/3 of the way in, and then the ending was kind of like thrown in there, and it didn't quite feel
Is she a
like
good person?
I don't even know who the good person was in this movie, because like a lot of them were like not very good people, or at least were like good people not acting very good. So yeah, I watched that, and then I watched Arrival, which was good too, but I had seen that before. So I was just rewatching it on the plane. And then I've been watching some of the Harry Potters. It's just been like dark and rainy out, which is always a good time to rewatch those. Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
All right. Well, they can find me at B_Reese Cup on Instagram. And what's my letterbox? I've been trying to do occasional letterbox posts. My
Your
letterbox.
letterbox is not the same as any other username.
Yeah, it's different from everything else. I can't
I
even
think you
find
need
it
to
on
do like the real Brooke Rees or something on everything.
I don't
That
even
would
know.
help me.
I don't even know what my letterbox one is, so whatever.
They can find me at Marriya Schwarz on all accounts. See how easy that is? Real Brooke Rees one.
I'm sorry.
And they can find the podcast at Remake Hot Take on all accounts. See how easy it is when you consolidate?
Well, I like people to have to work for it. All right. Well, happy Halloween.
Boo.